All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we don't have any unfinished business. I'd like to, can we even do an approval of the minutes? No.
Nope.
We're gonna skip over the approval of the minutes. We're gonna hold off on the public comments until after our presentations, because we don't have a whole.
You need to have those for agenda items only.
First, okay, all right. Okay, all right, so we're gonna go to a public comment session. This is for, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open the public comments for agenda items only at this time. After the presentations, we'll have the public comment section for items that are not on the agenda. Each speaker should state his or her name and address. You will have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by the board president or designee. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. So is there anybody for agenda items only that wants to make any comments? Anybody online? Are we checking that online?
I don't know if we can.
Okay. All right. Then we're going to move on to presentations. The student council, Lindsay is not present. Sorry. Ms. Mancuso for the HPEA is not present. So can we go to the principal's report, Mr. Kalman, and athletics.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so a couple updates that we have. Some school events from the principal's report. We're happy to say a shout out to our symposium group, and Mr. Cameron and Mr. McCarthy talked a little about that as well. So we had a disability visibility symposium. If you're in the media center, you saw some of that artwork over there and some of the photos there as well. And just a shout out to Ms. Loyola, Mrs. Ayers, Ms. Finland, Mrs. Myers, Ms. G. Nice, Ms. Hennings, Ms. Waste, and Mrs. Stories for leading that student and teacher collaboration, and we'll talk a little more about that. The junior prom is coming up this week, on Thursday, as a matter of fact, at Proto Farm, so we're excited for that. Looks like it's going to be nice weather for our students, and that's a really nice time. Next week we have the 8th grade picnic on the 25th, which we invite all of our 8th graders up to come and visit, and that's kind of really the third step in the phase of transitioning to Peter Head Point. And then we also have a opening of the school year transition program for 9th graders as well. We're also looking forward to a military activity day, working with our officials from the Army. We're going to walk through on that on the 19th, and we're going to invite our students outside to see what the military is about in different forms. Convoys, mechanics, engineers, helicopter pilots, and all about that will be all part of that day. Again, to see that the military is about more than just being a soldier. Senior Scholarship Dinner is on the 24th. All officers receive invitations for that. Really a great night for our community as we look to not only establish and recognize our students, but also work with our community members who give thousands of dollars each year to our students as well. So that's a great thing. Senior night, which is our conversion from project graduation we did a couple years ago. This is our second year of doing that. That's on June 9th. It's a modified version of project graduation. It allows us to do similar activities without having the overnight portion of it. The students really seem to enjoy that. So we're thankful for Mrs. Imperio's work on organizing that. She's our senior class advisor, and it's a busy time of the year for all these events that are going on. And between that, we also have our senior dinner cruise. So our senior trip. I just want to know as well. Senior awards on June 14th, and then graduation is on June 16th. So busy time between now and the end of the school year, but a lot of great things to celebrate and recognize, which is exciting. Also some congratulations and some shout outs to some students. Madison Sales was one of our students recognized, and she'll be recognized on June 2nd for AENJ down at the College of New Jersey, one of the state awards. There's only a very few individuals across the state that are recognized, and Madison is invited to attend, so we're looking forward to that. Also, congratulations to Agnes Schmidt and Sean Calaruso, but they were selected to the All-State Choir for the second consecutive year. In the fall, they're going to perform at the Convention Hall in Atlantic City and Prudential Hall and NJPAC at Newark. This is the top honors choir in the state of New Jersey. This is from Mrs. Riccardi. 83 men were auditioned for base 1, and 47 were selected. Agnes Schmidt received the 7th highest score out of that. So that's a pretty outstanding accomplishment for sure for Agnes and Sean. Also, congratulations to the High Point Concert Choir and the Chamber Singers. They recently attended the World Strides Music Festival in Washington, D.C. It's a fantastic event. They came back, although it was a very rainy weekend. They got a chance to perform there, and they received the silver rating of excellence, and the High Point Chambers received a gold rating of superior. So they get ranked based on their competitions and also how they perform by musicians that are there. So it's an outstanding achievement for them, and kudos again to Mrs. Martin and Mr. Carter for leading them, and again, giving them an opportunity to perform there. Also, in the same weekend, on the band side of things, our wind ensemble, concert band, and jazz ensemble traveled to DC as well, and they were combined and they received a silver rating in performance for their performance. So congratulations to Mr. Slaney, Mr. Carroll, for leading them right in their chords along the way as well. So that's some exciting student news. Just a small glimpse in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Just wanted to share with you. If okay, Mr. Miller, go on to the athletic report.
Yes, please.
We have some updates. Just going to give you some updates as we are winding down the spring. Hard to believe that, and how quick it will go, and how quick the season actually occurs. But we have many games that are going on even this evening. HWS games that are going on. Track in the NJAC and heading to the States. So a lot of the end of the season things as well. For softball, I just wanted to highlight a couple things. Michaela Conklin, one of our juniors, in this past week, recorded her 100th hit for her career, which is a pretty outstanding achievement as a junior. And also our freshman, Grace Meyer, recorded her 100th strikeout for the year. So she's only a freshman, so that's more to come there. In addition, our track, the girls were consecutive league champs again at 7-0. So we want to say kudos to them and to our coach, Coach Cavantino, and all of his assistant coaches as well. In golf, they are 18-1 right now and continue to roll on and have a fantastic season. And Jacob Dipple, sophomore, just competed and received 5th in the state at the Group 1, so that's an outstanding accomplishment for them as well. Unified Track is competing tomorrow night, I believe it's the 17th, tomorrow night down at Jefferson, so we're excited about that as well. And then last but surely not least, we had a couple of our NLI signings. You may have seen them on social media and follow along with them. Excuse me. We had Matt Frieda for Sussex County Community College baseball, Aiden Mitchell for True baseball, Eric Collins for Centenary Wrestling, and Rowan Citro for Kings Wrestling and golf. So we're excited about them. We try to celebrate them every chance that we get. Okay. Any questions? Anything else to add? I don't know if Lindsay would add anything to that.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Lindsay, apologies, we actually started 5 minutes early, so you're all in. But do you have anything to present for the student council?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. So, due to the influx of testing in like the early weeks of May, there haven't been as many opportunities for certain clubs to meet because everyone's testing. But our annual symposium proved to be a success. Although I did not have the opportunity to attend, many students have expressed their appreciation for having an event like this, especially because it discusses like the importance of inclusion and accessibility for people with disabilities. That was the theme for this year. And many students and teachers worked together to create this lovely event, and they should be proud of the work that they have done thus far because it was really cool, even just to like hear about it. What else? So all of the clubs and sports, as Mr. Talmy was saying, are preparing for the end of the school year with the sports hosting their senior nights and our class council finalizing the details for our annual dinner cruise. So a lot of seniors are getting ready for our end of the year activities, and we're all really excited.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time to come. And we love hearing about everything going on. So thank you. Okay, and then Mr. Campbell, you have curriculum and instruction.
Yes, thank you. Being aided right now by the principal, thank you, Mr. Talway. But my pay grade to figure out how to work that device. No problem, Mr. Talway.
Oh, no. Just do that.
Remote for this, for the projector? Yeah.
We need a kid.
That's it.
It's up to you guys. Let's go.
Just like at home. Can't forget the remote.
That's what you're on. But folks, apologize for the hopefully momentary delay. There it is. For the record, Mr. Jones, I wish at that time not be allotted to my presentation. Okay. First off, I want to thank our leadership team. My presentation this evening is a legally required presentation on our official grade from the, I'm sorry, folks.
Did you hit the clicker?
Terrific. All right, hopefully we're good now. Again, my apologies. So Friday, we had one of the best examples of our incredible staff and students. Right over here in the media center, we had, you were a participant, right? Oh, I'm sorry, you said you were. It was a tremendous day, and this is now the 7th or 8th year that we've had a cross-curricular symposium, and this year's presentation. Mr. Talman, can you help me out over there? Good. Artwork, writing, study of law, guest speakers. It was a tremendous day, and when we bring together a multifaceted curricular approach to an important topic, it generally makes for a great day. This year's topic was something that our community could really get behind, disability visibility, and the need to support and embrace all persons who have any type of disability. Our students are empathetic and caring, and they made for a terrific day. You can see some of their artwork and some collaboration. And as Mr. Talman mentioned, hundreds and hundreds of hours went into planning. Thank you to these 8 dynamic teachers for their hard work. Okay, so last week the state of New Jersey released our annual grade for harassment, intimidation, and bullying. It is a legal requirement that be presented. Increasingly, it seems sometimes that there's a requirement to present at more meetings than not present. It's about 4 a year, but this grade is posted to our website and is required to be there. The assessment takes a look at 8 different components of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. What happens first, the team of stakeholders in High Point evaluates ourselves based upon a rubric. We then submit that rubric to the Department of Education, who reviews our programs, and they review our score, and they either certify it or reject it. We scored ourselves 74 of 78. It was certified by the state. It is a public record that I'm previewing this evening. We always have to improve, and this year we focused on a handful of areas to improve for the current school year. Increase staff training on suicide prevention, increase discussions with students about HIV. Apologize. And for our administrative team to review policy and law. Those were our 3 areas of improvement. Again, our grade was 74 out of 78. Okay? I think when we talk about HIV, which again is 3 or 4 times a year, it's important to try and define what the New Jersey Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights calls for. And if Mr. Talbot can hit that for a second. It's really all-inclusive. It requires mandatory reporting, public presentations like this, policies, procedures, investigations, transparency, communication, staff, training. It is a broad requirement. It is perhaps the longest policy we have on our books, and it requires a great deal of action to work hard to protect students and to make our school climate as strong and as safe as could be. Now, what is a HIV? Very important that we understand that oftentimes conflict, disagreement, even inappropriate behavior exists, it's valid, it needs to be addressed, but it might not be harassment, intimidation, and bullying. For an incident to be considered a HIV, those 3 things in yellow must all exist. First, a reasonable person should be able to determine that it's harmful. So if students are fighting about the Jets and the Giants, a teacher might reasonably say, hey, this is getting a little heated, but I don't think this is a HIV. B, perhaps the trickiest component. To be a HIV, an incident must be motivated by a distinguishing characteristic, which is not finite, it's not limited. In the policy, what they list are things like age, body type, disability, gender, sexual orientation, etc. Race, religion, but there are many other things that could be a distinguishing characteristic. Last, sometimes A and B exist, but there's no evidence that there was a significant disruption to the learning environment. If one of those 3 are not the case, it may be very, very serious. It may be a matter that needs our attention, but it will not be considered a HIV. Now, our website, this is all required by law. If you go right to an opening page, you'll see on the bottom right, you don't even have to go to any other portals, you'll see HIV. Bottom left, an anonymous app where students can report concerns with, again, with anonymity. On the bottom right, a new family form where parents and relatives can present concerns anonymously. On the upper right, you'll see a screenshot of our policies, of our grades, our procedures, contact information for High Point staff, contact information for New Jersey, all available there. Particularly, Mr. Brian Emma and Mr. James Rice is with us this evening. I would like to thank, along with our building principal, who's also here doing double duty tonight, and our assistant principal, Ms. Rebecca Sarno. The main office deals with conflict, and they deal with HIV, and they work tirelessly to respond to these concerns. But it's not just those 4 people. Our teachers are the front line of ensuring that conflicts are addressed right away. Our administrative team from transportation and technology, Danny Arvin, technology, he he's backtracking through our Wi-Fi to see what messages may have been sent and find out what inappropriate action went on. Our transportation coordinator assists with incidents that occur on the bus. It is truly a team effort, and it is no exaggeration to say that that group alone has committed thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of hours to this process. We are under authority. The county government, the state government, and the federal government, we are accountable. And we are frequently audited, and we submit reports to them, and the feedback we have from them, most of which is public record, has been positive and affirming of the thoroughness of our process. The County Department of Education has supported us repeatedly. The State Department of Education continues to affirm our practices. The Office of Administrative Law recently reviewed a disputed HIB and ruled entirely in support of our approach to that case. Last year, or I should say this current year in October, the New Jersey Office of Civil Rights did an exhaustive 5-day review of High Point's entire civil rights policy, and they cited us as one of the most impressive districts they had audited in their experience. Training the staff is critical. This is just this year. Just this year, thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours dedicated to ensuring that all certificated staff know the policy, know the procedures, know who to report it to. Mr. Rice and Mr. Emma received special training as our HIB specialist and coordinator, and it's quite expansive. Our #1 district goal this year. Each year in July and August, the administration, the superintendent, the board discusses what do we want to really prioritize. Our school climate for wellness for students is #1, and we've done things to hit that goal. However, the trainings, the programs, the student assemblies, the increased staff, professional development, it is expensive. And you'll see that we are a recipient of 2 particular grants. On an annual basis, we receive Title I money that goes towards helping at-risk students. And this year in particular, we are in receipt of approximately $1.4 million in COVID relief money that are known as ESSER. Now, in grants, there's something called supplement and supplant. Typically with a grant, you must not supplant. Grants have to be used for something new and something extra. And so some of our grant money recently that had to go towards new initiatives paid for increased mental health counseling on site. For the first time in school history, we have a third-party licensed counselor who operates out of an office here in High Point. They accept insurance, and when students are uninsured, the district picks up the cost, and it's reimbursed through our ESSER funds. Staff training this year in this room, we had an incredible 2-hour presentation on cyberbullying and suicide prevention. Supplant. There are times where we use grant funds, athletic equipment, Wi-Fi upgrades, security upgrades. These are expenditures that our district would ultimately need to purchase. If we did not have federal grants for those expenditures, we would have to increase the burden on the local property tax base. So the federal grants allow us thousands of dollars in HVAC and Wi-Fi and our camera system. And we can use that federal grant money because the ESSER money allows you to supplant. So with some of that money, we use it as a cost savings to lower our overall budget and reduce the burden locally since the federal government is providing the funding. Mr. Talame is relentless with communication. When there is a HIB investigation, he calls the parents. When the investigation is completed, he reaches out and informs the parents of what happened. When that investigation gets signed off by the superintendent and sent to the board, a letter is once again sent home to the parents. The parents are invited to come to the board meeting. They are invited to exercise their due process rights and to challenge the claims of that finding. So we're very proud of our communication. It is a topic replete with transparency. We're here tonight by law mandated that we publicly present is great. The number of incidents that occur not only in High Point, but every school in New Jersey is available to all of us. Numerous public presentations. Just last month, this board discussed. They notified the public that they would be passing the new HIP policy. They discussed it publicly, and they voted on it, and within 24 hours, it was posted to our website. That's an example of transparency. When a student is involved in a HIP, whether they are the aggressor or whether they are the victim, there are a variety of ways in which we support students. Guidance is always involved. Working with teenagers to solve conflict is key. We increase supervision. We direct our security officers to go into different parts of the building. We actually have to record for all of our incidents, where do they occur, so we can track. Is there a problem in the locker rooms? Is there a pattern on buses? Is the 400 wing particularly a problem? And we can reallocate our robust security forces to those areas. Asking teachers and coaches, let teachers and coaches know when there's a problem, because they're with the students and they can intervene. We change students' schedules often. We implement no contact orders, and we provide both in-house and referrals to third-party mental health services. Look at our historical data, which has been presented many times in the past. This is for the first half of the current school year, July 1, 2022, through this past December. There were 6 confirmed HIPs. You see down in the bottom. Previous year, 10, 5, 7, 7, 6. First half of this year, there were 6. Now, here's the important thing. Although there were 6 HIPs, we investigated 27 incidents as possible HIPs and determined that 6 of them were HIPs. I went back and looked over the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, High Point did 184 HIP investigations. We concluded that 52 of them were confirmed HIPs. That's approximately 28% HIP, 72% conflict. So you may ask yourself, why do we do so many investigations if well more than half of the time it's not a HIP? Well, that's our charge legally, to follow that mandate with fidelity, that if certain elements are presented to us as a conflict, we say this is a HIP investigation. Anyone can compare High Point with all other districts in the state. I did a comparison of our sending districts, which are K-8. Look at the middle schools locally. Look at the high schools that we're neighbors with. You will find some have no HIPs, which I find surprising. You will find some that have far more than we do. I would say, for lack of a better word, our number of HIPs relative to our regional peers is fairly average. Now, this scenario is why we have so many HIP investigations. We don't back down. This happens all the time. It happened very recently. A parent emails an administrator and says, my child's being harassed. The administrator says, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Enclosed is Form 338, which I showed earlier on the screen. It is a form that you fill out and it initiates a HIP investigation. The parent very often says, you know, I just wanted to talk, I didn't really have a problem, but they might continue to use the word harassed or bullied, at which point we say, respectfully, I'm sorry, but this is now a HIP investigation, whether you consent to it or not. And we conduct an investigation. Even if the parent says, no, I didn't mean it. If we receive information, and that's how it's described, we take action. Once again, some of my colleagues are here this evening. I want to thank them for their outstanding efforts. Before I move on to testing very quickly, does the board have any questions? Okay, testing very quickly. I just want to thank, our kids are great. This is not a fun day for them, but today and tomorrow, we have a special schedule. The students tested, one more thing. It's a lot of moving parts. The sophomores were in the auditorium and outside, the seniors came in late, the juniors were taking a science test, the freshmen taking a math test. And everybody responded well, and we're really proud of our staff and our students. And it is a great honor of mine to present someone who has taught. We went out, Dr. Ripley's philosophy on hiring has been to go out and get the best and the brightest. We recruited Ms. McCarthy from an extremely high-achieving district where she was a decorated tenured teacher, brought her here. She was a star in the classroom for 7 years, and she beat out some extremely qualified candidates to become a member of our admin team. And I promise on her behalf she'll speak shorter than I did, but Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you for having me. So I just want to talk a little bit about the World Language Department and some of the cool things that we are doing there. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about AP testing. I was lucky enough to be assigned to the AP coordinator this year. Lucky me. So I just want to talk in the next screen. Just to kind of summarize it, we had 200 students take at least one exam. We are issued a total of 357 exams, 19 AP courses, and 17 teachers were involved. So it's a 2-week, everybody in the entire nation takes the exact same exam. In the world, yes, you are correct, in the world. And it's pretty cool because then they get to compare themselves in July when all their scores come in. We are at a slight disadvantage in New Jersey though, because schools like, say, for example, in Texas, get a whole extra month to teach their kids. Everybody takes the exam at the same time. So it is a big endeavor. I really do applaud the students, I applaud the teachers. I myself have taught 5 previous AP classes, so I know the work that goes into AP teaching. So I just wanted to, on the next slide, these are all the teachers that are involved. We do have a few makeups this week, but we're almost done for this year. And then I want to talk a little bit about world language. I oversee world language, English, social studies, art, and music, and I could talk about all of them, but I wanted to focus on world language today. So first thing I want to talk about is the Seal of Biliteracy. It's a test that's given, again, nationally. And if you get the Seal of Biliteracy, that means that you are biliterate and you can speak our language, English language, and another language. So this year we had quite a few students, if you turn to the next slide, who received it. And we had one student, Anastasia Bosniak, who actually received it in 2 languages, Russian and French. So you can see that our numbers are increasing there. So it's pretty impressive. And next, just a little terminology. If the slide comes back, whatever. So the next thing I'll talk about is our ESL program. We started out this year with about 12 students. The numbers fluctuate throughout the year, but I thought it was new for me learning because my background in social studies, so I've learned a lot about world language and the ESL program this year. So ESL is the class itself. So, right, we wouldn't say ESL student, we would say students taking an ESL class. We used to refer to them as ELs or ELLs, English learners and English language learners, but the new terminology for this year is ML or MLL, multilingual language learner. So if you want to be politically correct, we should be referring to them as MLs currently. So what they do, if you turn to the next slide, is they take, when they first come to our district, they take a screener so that we can appropriately place them and decide whether they should be in the ESL class or not, and then also whether or not they need to be pass-fail, depending on their level of being able to speak English. And then every March, they take the WIDA assessment. And the WIDA assessment tests them in 4 areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And you have to have a 4.5 or higher in each of those areas in order to place out of ESL. So in case you're not familiar, it's called the WIDA assessment test. Mark Russell, who is our AP Spanish teacher, also teaches other level Spanish. He's also an ESL teacher. He is certified in giving the WIDA assessment. So flipping to the next slide. So this year, in order to accommodate parents and students who are part of our ESL program, we did 2 things. First thing is we purchased some Pocket Talks, which by the way is a terrible name. Basically, it looks like a cell phone. It's an electronic device, and it allows us to communicate with parents. So we can send emails. We can, if they're in the office with us, they can speak into it and translate back and forth. So it's really allowed us to increase our communication with parents take part of the Sheltered English Immersion Program, which is to help ML students in your classroom when you don't speak the language. So to talk about how to make accommodations for them so that they can be successful in the regular classroom. So that's on tap, some of the things that we are doing for them. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Have a great night.
Okay, so that's it for the presentations. We just have things about other business, the retirement and service recognition awards are scheduled for Thursday, June 15th at 12:30 p.m. in the auditorium. And we'd like to thank Haley Jewelers and Todd Denning for providing a food truck from a local business for our class of 2023 senior breakfast on June 15th. We're very appreciative of the Denning family's continued support of High Point School community. And since we don't have a quorum, we really can't go to action items. So we are going to go back to public comments, and we're going to follow the same rules that each speaker should state his or her name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board, which is called time, and we'll limit to this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful, and again, mindful that your comments are being recorded. So is there anybody in the room that wants to speak?
I would like to speak.
All right, you can come on up. You can give your name and address.
My name is Kathy McCann. I'm at 110 State Route 15, Lafayette, New Jersey, 07848. I'm a parent of a junior at High Point Regional High School, and I'm going to get emotional because I heard Mr. Campbell and Mr. Tomlin talk about HIP, and I would like to address the board and explain to you. I wrote a letter, and I want you to listen and pay attention, please, because this is hard to me. This is one common denominator in every school tragedy that affects our schools across the country. Someone knew something and didn't speak or act beforehand, from suicide to drugs to alcohol abuse, car accidents and shooting. Someone knew something and didn't act. Let that sink in. We've become a society of people willing to accept anything to avoid being called names or being typecast as something we are not. Our children and my child are suffering in silence as the bullied or out loud as the bullies. That's right. It's no secret that our children who bully are missing something in their lives. It's typical something they know a child has. It's likely the attention of a parent, or perhaps the behavior they see at home, or simply not in a position to do better or be better for themselves. Our teachers spend more time parenting our kids than teaching them. Their jobs have now become a high risk as police officers on our streets. On any given day, there is a potential for an overdose, a fight, a weapon being brought to our school grounds. The state of education system in America should be a grave concern to all of us. But for the board, the biggest concern should be the delegation of the duty of the oath they took to protect our children of the school system. For years, my son, Alex, has been bullied in the Sussex school system. I have patiently waited for schools to act. I have fought for my son and continue to raise him to survive in school. Wow, not to be educated, not to figure out what he wanted to be when he grew up, but just to survive. Just get it over with. What an incredible legacy you've all left here, the legacy of failing our children, the legacy of social promotion, punishing the bullied while ignoring the bullies. I'm not sure you're aware, but on April 28th, 2023, my life changed for the worst. My son was tormented once again while kids videoed the incident and laughed. He was hit and bullied again until fist flew and his nose was broken. He had injuries that should haunt all of you each night before you go to sleep. Every meeting you oversee and you continue to debate the degradation of our school system and the impact of fighting for our children. What about the mom, which is me, who will one day come here to implore you to fix the system after a broken nose? A child becomes paralyzed after laughing stops because a child lays bleeding with a broken nose on the ground from a punch that landed an inch in the wrong direction and punctured an organ, and we have to wait until the first shot is fired before you fix the system? It's exhausting to watch grown adults who should know better stutter of the question, what is right here? Not what's politically correct, but what is right. I suspect all of you know, and yet you still act as candidates wanting to win their seat again, instead of the person who's elected to help our children and my son. You are elected to serve all of our children and parents in the system, whether we agree with you or not. You're not serving mine, and I'm scared to find out the number of other children like my son who suffer in silence of the bullies who cry out for help. In society, we hear the word woke, quote unquote, a lot. Well, I stand here before you as a mother who's had enough, woke up, and just waiting for you guys to wake up. You have the power to stop what's happening. Choose it, use it, before it's too late.
Are there any other comments in the room? Not right now.
Do you want me to stand up there with you? You want me to read it? This was written by my daughter who's being bullied at High Point High School. My name is Paula Featherman, her name is Davida Featherman. For those of you who don't know me, I live in Wantage, and I have been fighting for my daughters, not only Davida for a year now, but Rebecca now is being included, my other daughter. Okay? I have brought it to every single member here because I've sent you guys emails before. It's been ignored. This is what Davida had me help her write last night. My name is Davida Featherman, and I am a sophomore here at High Point. Number one, I have not stepped inside this school before today since November 18th, 2022, because on that day, my life turned upside down. This is coming from a sophomore here at school, 16-year-old now. 2 separate bullying incidences happened on that day. Number 2, since administrators will not stop the bullying, my civil rights are being violated. I am entitled to a free, appropriate public education. Number 3, I can't attend after-school activities, including the prom this week, because administrators refused to take 2 bulliers out of 3 of my classes. My doctor said that I can't come back to school unless the bulliers were removed from my classes. That is proof that my civil rights are being violated. Number 4. One tutor is about 25 hours behind in her tutoring hours. Therefore, my work is not up to date and her grades obviously are suffering. Number 5, I didn't and don't receive a tutor for my computer class, my art class, my piano class. This work is frustrating and difficult for me to complete without having a tutor. I might mention that she does have some disabilities and it is hard for her. Number 6, the constant bullying has changed me from being happy all of the time to being depressed, anxious, sad, mad, etc. She kept listening, so I had to tell her to stop that. I've actually thought about suicide is what was coming from her mouth. My daughter, and I feel for this woman, because my daughter has thought about suicide, and that does not get that man up and moving. Number 7, I am missing my friends and the socialization that I usually get at school. And number 8, I just want everything at school to fix this, everyone at school to fix this problem so that I can receive that free, appropriate public education. Davida, I adopted you when you were 3 years old, and I told you and Rebecca from day 1, what is the best thing that I ever did in my life? I adopted them, that was the best thing. And I swore to that judge that I would take care of them. And for my daughter to come to me and say, I wanted to kill myself, Mom. I want to end it. I don't wish it on any one of you. You're sitting here as our daughter. I've gotten flack from Dr. Ripley for trying to protect my daughter from suicide. He refuses to do change, he refuses to make change. I love my daughters, and I will not give up, Dr. Ripley. I will fight this to the end. It is the wrong thing that this school is doing. This woman sat right here tonight telling you a similar story. And the administrators want me to allow my daughter to go in 3 periods a day and sit with 2 bulliers in that class? That is wrong. She's going to go home and she's going to try it. That's what you're waiting for? This is my speech. My name is Paula Federman. I have 2 girls here at High Point High School. Both of them. Number 1, I'll read my speech. There have been 14 harassment and bullying incidences involving both of my daughters reported to the school in 1 year's time. Yet the bullying has not stopped, and most of these incidences include 3 of the same students. 3 of the same students. Yet this is not considered harassment or bullying? Something's wrong. I even spoke to Dr. Stuart Green. You might want to look him up. He helped write the laws on bullying in New Jersey, and he said that it doesn't have to be considered harassment, intimidation, or bullying. It doesn't have to be considered it. Any type of unwanted behavior must be stopped by the administrators. Must be stopped from the guy who wrote the law. Okay? Number 2, I was told by both Superintendent Scott Ripley and Board President Wayne Dunn to hire a lawyer. Why? Why should I hire a lawyer? I have you guys that are supposed to be working for not only my 2 girls, but the rest of the kids in the school. What is wrong with talking things out? Sitting down at a table like this and talking things through and through. I have to sign a complaint. That's what I'm told. And I'm told to hire a lawyer. You guys' tax dollars are going for a lawyer. Number 3, thank you, Mr. Jim Smith, for joining us tonight. Because Mr. Smith, a retired police officer here at High Point's anti-bullying specialist, recently committed perjury in front of Judge Kirk in a case involving my daughter in a New Jersey court. Okay, I believe they mentioned something about losing a case or something. Mr. Campbell did, but it's probably maybe because we have a perjury person in here. I have written proof in his own handwriting. What Mr. Rice didn't know was that because I took him to court, that High Point's lawyer had to give me all the proof that they considered that they were going to present. Okay? His salary is $60,000 a year in 2019. He tried changing my daughter's words and swore under oath to his own words that he said. I suggest that all parents notify the school and not allow this man or other administrators to interview your children without you being present. They are minors, and you have a right to be present. Does High Point really want to employ people who lie under oath? This is such a waste of tax dollars to hire a lawyer. Shame on him. Number 4, and Mr. Campbell mentioned this, the American Rescue Plan Act. You guys received over $1 million. And it's to help stop the bullying, it's the COVID crisis. And we spent money to the Da Vinci Science Center. We were doing a campus monitoring system coverage, which I, as a parent who have been trying to see another video that my daughter was involved in and being refused to see that, which is against the law. A check was made out for $2,200 from the New Jersey School Boards Association, and there was nothing at all in the explanation of it. What was that for? I'd really like to know. Payroll.
Ms. Sutherland, if you could, we've had over time. You could
Sure, but there's not that many people here tonight, so if you wouldn't mind, please. I'm just my daughter, as you know, you've been in meetings with me.
Yeah,
She has considered suicide. If you can't take that as something that's important for me to talk about,
no, there's other reports that you can do as a result of that.
I'll tell you, a high jump pit was paid out of that money. Payroll, weight room equipment was paid out of that money. What does this have to do with the COVID relief? Get those bulliers help that they need. As a school community, we need to stick together and force the board and administration to do their jobs and to follow the laws. I signed a formal complaint against Scott Ripley that formal complaint was heard by 2 members of a 9-member board. Is that unethical? Is that illegal? Both. I'm thinking at least one of them. Lastly, there are 3 members up for election for this board. Mr. Dunn wants to waste too much of our money by telling me to hire a lawyer. I don't know about you guys, but if you're paying your taxes on time, I can't afford to have them taxes go up anymore, because if he's telling me to hire a lawyer, if they're telling me to hire a lawyer, they're going to tell her to hire a lawyer, and they're going to tell little Bobby to hire a lawyer, and so on and so forth. We need to vote this board out if they're not willing to make the change. That is law. It is law. I have talked to different people, and it's wrong.
My name is Deborah Dieries, and I live at 21 Clark Road, Orange, New Jersey. Davida and Rebecca are my granddaughters. I've seen Davida turn into a child we don't even recognize. The things that she has gone through has changed her. She was always a sweet, loving little girl, and she still is, but now she hides in the closet, in the dark, in a fetal position, because she can't handle the stress that this board and the school is putting with her. I watched all this information that came up on the screen, and Paula and I have done hours and hours worth of research so we can try to understand why the school isn't protecting and advocating for her. Why isn't she in school getting an education like every other teenager? Why is she being punished? I'm looking at you. Unbelievable that I have read the emails that you send, and the board and other people send to Paula. You should be embarrassed. Nobody is protecting her. Nobody is advocating for her. She's missing out on so much school. She's entitled to it. I just don't understand it. That's why I try to educate. I'm thinking maybe I'm missing something. I'm not missing anything. This is a joke. You don't do half of this stuff that's up there for our Davida. You may do it for other kids, but you're not doing anything for her. And there's a saying, 0 to 60. Figure that. 0, there's no problems with hitting. 60 is a teenage suicide. And if you read anything online, you know that there's teenage suicides constantly. 14-year-old girls, 14, 15, 16, because they can't deal with the frustration that the schools are putting them through by not protecting. She feels dismissed, ignored. How dare you do that to her? How dare you? We're paying our taxes and you treat a 16-year-old girl like that? You should all be ashamed of yourselves. So 0 to 60. A 60 being a child that commits suicide. But what about 0 to 59? The kids that are in between, that don't know how to handle situations like this, grown-up situations, that don't know how to handle being frustrated and stressed and depressed. She was never stressed, depressed, frustrated. Never. You changed her. You should be ashamed of yourselves, all of you.
Jerry Kayako, I live in Orange. My daughter Eva,
Please give your address.
do you have to have that? 51 Ryan?
No, you don't. Daniel's law was just passed. You don't have to. You don't have to give
And then please strike that. Okay. What you call it? Eva, I got Eva a couple years ago in custody of her, and during COVID, I sent her to Pope John because you guys were shut down. And every day she was abused by the kids there. They would throw stuff on the floor, ask her to clean it up, and she's a good kid, and she was alone. And what you're gonna find is that if you take the emotions and all the hurt and all the damage that's been done, and you take that out of the picture, it's pretty much a mathematical problem. You got one person standing up against a bunch of people who are attacked. So, you know, they're alone. And when they're alone, they feel anxious, they feel depressed, they feel embarrassed. You ever get that feeling where you get real hot when things are going wrong and everything just seems to slide away on you? And that's what's causing the target to feel suicidal. Now, there was a point where Eva had mentioned it a couple of times as well, you know, oh, you know, I shouldn't be here, why am I here? You know, I said, look, you know, if you just hang in there, it's gonna work out for you. And she joined drama, and this year, she's doing good. She's a high honor roll, and she has friends, and that's the problem. The problem is that the target is isolated. So what you need to do is you need to run what I would call a parallel line. You take all the bad guys, and you take all the people who are being harassed. Now, you only got 27 incidents, and you got 6 hits. So this isn't gonna take all day. I saw a whole bunch of staff with a wide brush that can handle this, okay? You gotta find out who's who, and you gotta separate them. And it's pretty much that simple, okay? The people who are perpetrating it, are you gonna find that they run in a pack? There's gonna be an alpha, and there's gonna be all the little followers who wanna be cool with that guy, and they're all gonna follow him. It's very typical, okay? So what happens is, if you know that people who are being abused, for example, if these 2 girls were twins and they were in the same class, they could travel together. Now, if you put them up in the front of the class with the teacher being able to see what's going on, okay? And in the bad classes where people are doing things behind your back, smack a mirror up on a wall, and they can see if they're being harassed while the teacher's not looking. And what's gonna happen is that the person who is the subject of being attacked now has a partner, somebody to feel confident with, and they're not alone. So, you know, it's a matter of taking all those records, you got all the information, you got all the data, put it to use. You know, take it, find out who the troublemakers are, put them all in the same class. Okay, if they want to ruin their life not learning, that's fine. Okay, but I tell you what, ghettos are not, what you would call it, bad schools create ghettos. That's what happens. The kids cannot get out of here. And there's kids, okay, we had a problem with Eva when she first came here. I found out months later that somebody was laying their hands on her inappropriately in lunch. So we went to the cops, and it stopped. Okay, I went to the cops before I came to the school, okay, because nobody's gonna touch my kid. All right, so the bottom line is that, you know, I think that we're protecting the wrong person's, you know, what do I want to say? You know, we're protecting the people who, oh yeah, well, by law, we can't do this, or we can't say that, or blah, blah. You gotta, you know, within the school, you should be able to make these calls, okay? There's no reason that she should have to stay home. She should be able to come back. Now, the person who laid his hands on, that we pressed charges on, we went to the guidance, and we said, hey, look, you know, we gotta get this kid out of my daughter's class. Wouldn't you know, they put him right behind her in the next class. So, I mean, it's a matter of finding out who's picking on Davida, finding out who it is, separating that clique, that wolf pack, separating them, putting them in different classes, and keeping her away from those main people. I don't see, with 27 incidents, why that can't be done, because you need to do it at the end of the year when you know who's done everything. This is the perfect time to do this analyzation and say, okay, parallel lines. These jerks are over here, and these people that are being harassed, we're going to group them together. And there's 27 and 6. I mean, I saw 3 dozen, you know, 18 people that are on these committees and all this other stuff. I mean, it's nice. You guys got everything in place. But there's no...
Okay, if you could
Yeah, you're not implementing anything. We're throwing data up our wall. I mean, that's a big deal. 74 out of 78. I mean, what does that mean? To me, if the kids are having problems, this kid's getting punched in the nose, right? She's out of school. She had the hardest time. I mean,
Okay, sir, if you can wrap it up, please.
I'm done.
Thank you.
That's what I wanted to say.
Anyone else?
Want me to go again?
Thank you.
I embarrassed her, so I'm done for the night.
And I don't think do we have anything online or?
I can't check the email.
You
Let's
can't
check.
check email? Okay. We haven't had any. Okay. All right, well, thank you. And this is like the first time, you said like in 13 years that we haven't had a quorum, so. No, so we're going to talk with the president and see if we can maybe, because we have a lot of personnel to approve, so we might be scheduling a special meeting if we can to take care of business here. So, is there anything else at the end that we can do? I think that's it. I think yep, okay. So, if there's nothing else at the moment, I'd like to adjourn, make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Adjourn. Thank you.
I will do your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Because